Fusion Strike Pokemon we don't see a lot. It's that Deoxys. Yes.
It's not only a Fusion Strike Pokemon, though. It's a it's a Rapid Strike. It's a Single Strike. It's every type of style. Very interesting card there. Again, when it has a Fusion Strike energy attached, I believe it does 160 total damage. A pretty good attacker, but, you know, not as strong as the Meloetta. Again, just seeing the Fusion Strike news, giving me a little bit of flashback, you know, to when Fusion Strike did come out. It's been a minute. And
it's been 2 years now. Almost 3 years, it feels like, since
wow.
It came out. It's been
3 years, almost 3 years of Mew in the meta. And, you know, it's just such a powerful deck. Again, Melodious Echo, potentially turn one, but luckily Rowan is going first. That means we're not going to see that big explosive damage right now because, of course, you can't attack. I have to talk about this real quick, though. I want to, the matchup, since Kristen Labella is playing Umbreon and Duraludon. Duraludon VMAX, again, with that Skyscraper ability, means you cannot get hit by special energy. Typically, you have a way around that as a Mew player, right? You play multiple paths to the peak, for example, to hit into Duraludon potentially. But Rowan, I believe, only plays one. So I don't know if that could come, if that would matter in this specific matchup. But yeah. Again, just more, he's playing a more explosive start. Let's see if the more explosive Mew does well, or does better than the more control style Mew.
If Fusion Mew has gone through a lot of changes throughout the history. I remember when this deck played Latios to block VMAX Pokemon from hitting it. Now, because of certain cards falling out, because of Marnie not being potential, it seems like a lot of these Fusion Mew builds have gone for the one copy of Roxanne and the one copy of Path to Peak. Keeping those resources around, of course, with Palpad, you can put back in something like the Roxanne later on in the game, which Rowan is playing. Does have access to a very strong start, though. I believe drew into Genesect V off of the Trekking Shoes, has access to Ultra Ball, getting rid of Boss's Orders and Crystal Cave, finding this Mew, can start to fill the hand back up with Fusion Strike system. It was a surprise to me. This is what this deck wants to do every turn. Find Battle Pass, find the basic Pokemon, start drawing big cards with Fusion Strike system. That seems to be the choice. Instead, deciding to play this Chromatic, getting rid of Ultra Ball, hits heads, that's going to pay off huge. And we're going to see it come down, that Battle VIP Pass, or even just another Pokemon, but it's always got to be that Battle Pass.
I like that play. You know, sometimes you got to risk it a little bit. Yes, I could get one Pokemon by discarding two with the Ultra Ball, or I could flip a coin and get two Pokemon. Why not on the very first turn? Looks like it paid off there again. When you have a Battle VIP Pass on the very first turn of the game, especially if you're a Mew VMAX deck, I just think you're going to be having a good time. And right now, Rowan Stavenow, again, getting completely set up here, and Mew doing exactly what it wants to do, you know? It's just a testament to the power of Mew, just being able to draw so much, and now the bench is full. 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon, that means you can draw up to six in your hand 3 times. That's pretty good.
Great draw, great start here. Only one Battle Pass, but look, got the bench filled up and got things going. First Fusion Strike system, drawing through 6 cards. And we see Nest Ball, and this is a card that is kind of acting as a replacement to Quick Ball, but it's not nearly as good. You can't play that card. It feels like it's Battle VIP Pass in your hand, and this pretty much feels like I'm Ultra Balling away 2 Battle Pass, getting rid of both of those, not grabbing Mew VMAX, just going to go ahead, fail it, say, look, I want to find more cards this turn. I'm going to at least be drawing 3 cards off this next Fusion Strike system. Has the Forest Steel Stone as well, has access to that V-Star power. Doesn't really need anything else. I feel like your turn objectives have been hit already this turn. You're looking for that attachment. You're looking to get Mew V down.
What we're looking for is a Boss's Orders for the next turn, so we can target down the first attachment on Christian Labella's side of the field. Again, what Christian is going to want is just energy attachment onto Arceus. Very simple, again, a very simple game plan for your first turn, but can be easily punished here, especially if you're going second against Mew VMAX. Let's see what they have here.
Wow, this hand is not looking too great here. I mean, there is actually a Judge in hand, so can play this Ultra Ball. Does have Escape Rope as well, but I feel like you really don't want to just kind of gift that Arceus into the active spot. We'll be able to at least search the deck. And the one key piece to note here, Umbreon V, a card when you evolve into the VMAX, can use that Dark Signal ability to bring up a Pokemon. It does hit weakness onto this Mew VMAX. There's no copies of things like Oricorio in the deck. So if you're able to fully power it up, not utilize double turbo energy, get 3 energies onto it, max darkness doing 320 damage is enough to take a one-hit knockout onto this Mew VMAX.
Again, as if, you know, Duraludon wasn't enough of a headache, Mew has to really think about potentially even getting one-shot it, right? It makes a lot of decisions tougher. Do you go for example, if there was a Duraludon V and Umbreon V both in the bench, what do you go for here? Do you go for the one that's harder to knock out, or do you go for the one that can knock you out?
It's tough. With Fusion Energy, of course, if you do play that Path to the Peak, you can sort of just copy a big Melodious Echo, have that happen. Lots of moving pieces in this matchup, lots of different attackers. Of course, you do have sort of Max Miracle as well that you can utilize to get through the Duraludon, to get through that Skyscraper ability. But for now, Christian getting that Turn 1 attachment onto Arceus, playing Judge.
Very scary
will
Judge.
see 4 cards, but yeah, if you're Christian, even if you don't get another Pokemon down, something like Escape Rope can get played on Rowan's side to allow you to bring up that Arceus. Big 4 cards here for both players.
Exactly, and hoping Mew VMAX doesn't have the card they need, that's kind of a bad game plan.
And it's not a lot either, right? It's a VMAX, it's a Power Tablet, and it's a switching card. So let's see these 4 cards.
Does get an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, but the problem here with Ultra Ball is if you play this Ultra Ball out,
you don't get a V-Star.
You're playing off your top deck next turn. I mean,
tough decision.
If you're here, what do you do in this position?
I think
I agree that you pass because sure, if your opponent whiffs, then I guess, right? You play off your top deck. You don't necessarily lose right away, but...
you know what hurts a lot is that we already have one piece of the puzzle because we already have that Forest Seal Stone. So all we're looking for here is... so we need 3 things. A damage modifier, the Mew VMAX, and a switching card. Right?
Yeah.
Those are...
and
the switching card and an escape rope, excuse me.
So attaching this Fusion Energy to Deoxys is smart, of course, boosting that Photon Booster attack, doing now 160 damage, but more importantly, does attach the energy to the active, so this can retreat. Does have the Cramomatic in hand. Big flip here. If this flips heads, this can find one of the pieces, can grab something like Ultra Ball to thin the hand out, find Mew VMAX. The Forest Seal Stone can grab one of these last couple of pieces. Instead, finding the Escape Rope, playing that card, it acts essentially as a boss's orders and still opens up your supporter for a turn to play something like Alessa Sparkle or something like even a Penny to pick the Pokemon back up.
That is true. That is true. I just have to wait and see. Again, only one Fusion Strike system has been used. Can they play anything else down from their hand?
There is a Lost Vacuum. I think just deciding, look, I'm going to probably be using my Forest Seal Stone this turn. I'll get rid of it. I also don't expect you to be playing a Lost Vacuum, so there's probably no way for you to remove this tool. So here we go, second Fusion Strike system.
There's a damage modifier.
There it is. It's guaranteed now. Power Tablet can be played, boosting the damage of Technoblast to 220. And at minimum here, can utilize this Forest Seal Stone to find Mew VMAX.
And
there,
that should be the knockout.
Yes, it's the guaranteed knockout here, has those pieces.
Maybe we can draw into the Mew VMAX here, save our Forest Seal Stone.
No, it does find Alessa Sparkle, so can play Alessa Sparkle, put some more Fusion Strike energy into play, get that effect as well. Finds Mew VMAX. I think the choice here, usually you just want to grab a direct card that you're looking for, but could actually opt to grab Ultra Ball instead to thin the hand out. Regardless, like we said, a perfect turn there. Christian not having a lot going on, just a single Arceus. Allowed Rowan to not need to find the boss's orders. It's one less piece needed. Instead, playing the Escape Rope, saving the supporter for choice, can have an even stronger turn. And how do you come back here if you're Christian?
I think it's going to be tough. Again, it's a lot of hoping, right? You have to get another Arceus into the bench and just hope that that one doesn't get knocked out. Just so you can start attacking, just so you can start using your Starbirth. But with the amount of pressure Rowan is just putting and the amount of draws he has access to, you just have to assume they always have it here. And I just have to say, Ethan, when we were talking about Mew VMAX yesterday, did you expect Fusion Strike Mew?
I thought it might come up. I thought people might finally understand that this deck is still very, very strong. But there it is, Technoblast, 220 damage, knocking out Arceus V. And now what do you do if you're Christian? You got reset a turn. Your opponent's board is completely set up. Mew VMAX is in play. They've got Deoxys, 2 Fusion Strike energy, plenty of things going on. And you're left with just a single Radiant Alakazam and not much going on in the hand.
Looks like they're thinking of finding possibly the Luminion V to get the Adventures Discovery. Getting Adventures Discovery allows you to get 3 Pokemon V, so a lot better of a setup for sure. Maybe grab 2 Arceus at this point and Duraludon. You can still hope here that you can set up Duraludon. Maybe you can buy a couple of turns. But again, with Rowan down to 4 prizes, if you put down an Arceus V and you have already Luminion in bench, there's the 4 he might need.
It's hard. There is a world where for some reason Rowan has no way to attack because, of course, Technoblast does not allow you to attack the next turn, so you will need to find a way to either utilize a different attacker, like that benched Mew V evolving into a VMAX, or that Deoxys, or playing one of the numerous switch cards in deck. We saw one of the escape ropes get played. There is still the option.
He did have to discard a switch as well.
Yep, so there's one more switching card in the deck. Does play 2 copies of that escape rope. So the question here, though, you're now playing Luminion V down. You can play Adventurer's Discovery, but what else do you have to go with it? Not just this turn, but the following turn. It looks like grabbing double Arceus with both of those benched and the Arceus V-Star getting grabbed will at least guarantee some pieces for the following turn.
Exactly. Let's see here. Yeah, decides to bench both Arceus, and if one gets knocked out, I believe he has access to Raihan, so he should have an attack this next turn, since, again, Starbirth, absolutely powerful. One of the most powerful V-Star's ability, allows you to search any 2 cards from the deck, and, you know, it's a very flexible card, especially when you're in the back foot, as we pass over now to Rowan. Again, Rowan, I'm sure, is looking for a gust.
Yeah, this is kind of tough, though. There's really not a lot going on in this hand. You've got a few power tablets, but you kind of want to save those for later on in the game, just so you can get these knockouts on these V-Star Pokemon. You've already burned a single power tablet. You still have access to Choice Belt. Only one in the deck. We usually see 2, but just a single copy. Does at least have the Deoxys. Can utilize this Fusion Strike system for 1 card.
Ultra Ball.
Does find Ultra Ball, so that opens up the question.
It's a tough choice, though, what you discard here. Again, we know he has a couple of power tablets. He has the Path to the Peak. Typically, in my mind, you know, that's the easiest one to discard. But then that means you lose your one of your Duraludon outs.
So the question for me is there a boss's orders in this hand? Is there any potential to gust up? There is one of the prize cards, and I think one was discarded early on, the first turn of the game. So unless Rowan can find the 1 copy of Palpad to put the boss's orders back in the deck, there's going to be no potential to gust unless there's another escape rope, which would actually be super clutch in this position.
It looks like Heavy Ball, it was another Alessa Sparkle. Look, it's looking a little tough. Again, it might just have to be the escape rope at this point, especially since you only have 1 Fusion Strike system left. You had to draw the Palpad that turn to be able to shuffle it back into the deck, to be able to draw again with the Fusion Strikes, to be able to draw into it, with the Fusion Strike system. Oh, the bosses are, one is in prize, yes.
Prizes. So it looks like the only option here is to play this Alessa Sparkle. Let's see if the escape rope is still in the deck. It is. So there's about, 11 cards left in this deck, so can potentially dig with that, play the Hisuian Ball, play the Alessa Sparkle, go ahead and utilize this last Fusion Strike system for 2 cards, play this out, deciding to hold the power tablet, just going to draw 2. Do we see the escape rope? No, we don't. We see Choice Belt instead, just saying, look, my advantage is already here. I've taken 3 prize cards. I can knock out this Radiant Alakazam, go down to 3, and from there, even if you have some way to take prize cards next turn, some way to put pressure on, I just have too much going on for you to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rowan, despite missing the escape rope, still is in a pretty good position. But you know what? This is Christian Labella's opportunity to be able to do something, right? If Rowan is able to get a gust that turn, I think it would be way too late for Christian to come back. But right now, since Rowan was able to take 1 prize card, that means he still has to take 2 knockouts here. It leaves him with room to breathe. It leaves him with something to do this turn, and I want to see what Christian can show us.
So we know the Arceus V-Star is in hand at minimum. Could also potentially, with this Umbreon coming up, maybe value
they could go
the
Raihan into
the
DT.
The problem with Raihan is just, okay. So I think I see what Christian is going for. A very interesting line of play, grabbing boss's orders and the Dark Energy. The Umbreon V, not utilized as an attacker a lot of the time, but it does have the mean look attack for a single Dark Energy, doing 20 damage and preventing your opponent's Pokemon from retreating. Now, Christian may not know how many switching cards Rowan has, but and of course the strategy is not foolproof because, of course, you eventually will just knock out the Genesect by doing damage to it. But I think it's just Christian's play to try and buy some time and maybe force Rowan to commit too many resources to get this knockout.
Oh boy, Ethan, if I could tell you how many times as a Mew VMAX player I've lost to just going a little bit too hard with the Fusion Strike system, losing a lot of my energy, and getting stuck into active because I don't have any more DT. But a Palpad there, putting Penny back into the deck is an out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of great plays Christian can make in that position, but I think the Stranding play is maybe not the best, especially after you've seen your opponent put Penny into their discard pile and know that most Mew VMAX lists are playing Palpad. The way to get that card back, but this could again just be Christian trying to get more information out of this potentially. There's the Fusion Strike system, playing 2 power tablets, already has the boss's orders in hand.
A couple of trekking shoes to dig a little bit more as if we needed
Finds
more
the Penny.
draw.
That's what you needed. Can play Penny, has already had plenty of damage modifiers, can pick this Pokemon up, put new VMAX into the active spot. I think even considering maybe attacking with Deoxys, I mean, you've played 2 power tablets this turn, so the math is actually perfect here if you attack with Deoxys. It's doing 140 damage because of Photon Boosters minus 20 from the double turbo energy. You play 2 power tablets, that's 200 damage. You can knock out this Umbreon V if you so choose.
That is true. Maybe that is the more correct play indeed. But right now, Mew VMAX in the active does have free retreat, does still have the option.
Yep, I think Deoxys attacking here is good, but you also have to realize that by not attacking with Deoxys, you save your Fusion Strike energy, which means Melodious Echo can threaten 280 damage the following turn. So it's
true.
Cute, right? The math is there, but you know your Mew VMAX is not going to get knocked out. His action's back over on Christian. 6 prizes. Rowan, just a single prize away from taking this game. 1 prize card remaining.
Yeah, it does play the Chorus Experiment. Yeah, I think you got it right there. I think Melodious Echo just guarantees the game here. You kind of hope Arceus V-Star could probably take a couple of hits since, a couple of power tappers have been used. But again, that's the power of the Fusion Strike energy. I was even thinking if Genesect was stuck in the active, I'd start attaching a couple of Fusion Strike, just attack with a Techno Blast
that guy way. Powered up. Listen, he can Techno Blast himself. He doesn't need to be copied to be utilized. Now get that guy in the move.
Exactly, as we see here right now. Since Chorus Experiment has been played, I was thinking maybe another play. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, and sort of just flashing. There's no cards in the format right now that are supporter or that are item cards that can disrupt an opponent's hand that are played in standard format decks. So Rowan just saying, hey, look, I've got Boss. I've got Fusion Strike energy in my hand. We're going to game 2. Rowan going up 1-0, showing us you don't need double turbo. You don't need just double turbo to make Mew VMAX strong. Fusion energy can get things done. Didn't really matter too much in that case. The Fusion energy was just sort of a way to power up those secondary backup attackers, but Christian was just unable to get things set up, really struggled with just a single Arceus in play. And you see, Arceus has this very simple, very linear game plan. Bench Arceus, attach to it, and evolve into V-Star. But when step 3, evolving into V-Star, gets cut off by your opponent, turn 2 gusting and knocking out your Pokemon, what can you do against that? How can you respond when you have to take another 2 turns to set up another Arceus?
That's right. And I think Rowan's playing it absolutely masterfully here. And I've always talked about this when I talk to Mew players, like what is the spice you're bringing? Sometimes people tech in the Dreepy. I've seen people put in Fan or possibly even Skolvit. And maybe the right spice, the right tech is just to go back to the basics and play Fusion Strike.
Go back to the roots. I mean, again, we talk about this. Mew VMAX, I remember when this deck played, what was it? It played cross switchers like all the way back. And then it played the supporter card, discards your entire hand, and you search your deck for 2 trainer cards.
Oh yeah. Rose?
No,
not Rose. I forget the name, but yeah, no. It was a
The reason I remember this is
at
EUIC 2022, it was played in Whimsicott. And that takes me back. It was, jeez.
Yeah, absolutely powerful, right? I mean, just being able to discard your hand, getting any two items, I believe.
It was any 2 trainer cards.
Yeah.
So you can grab any 2 trainer cards, but you have to discard your entire hand.
And it's worth it, because you could always refill your hand anyway. All right, looking at the pricing here.
Fusion energy again for Rowan.
1 of each Pokemon looks like for Christian. Again, Path of the Peak in the pricing 2. I think that's the perfect place you want it to be in, unless, of course, you want to stop an early V-Star, Arceus V-Star, a Starbirth, excuse me.
So here we go, kicking into things. Game number 2 underway. Christian starting things off just like he did in game 1. Ultra Ball, discarding the 2 cards from hand, finding any basic Pokemon or Pokemon out of the deck, but it is going to be that Arceus. Discarding 2 cards. It is that Boss's Orders hitting the discard pile. Of course, you do have access to the Dark Signal ability on Umbreon VMAX to later bring that into play. But again, the big question for me for Christian, is there another Arceus that can be benched this turn? Otherwise, we've seen this on stream last season, time and time again. Escape Rope, Alessa Sparkle, Fusion Energy, Power Tablets. Let's see if Rowan has the cards needed. Starting things off with the Trekking Shoes. Says, I don't need new VMAX. Does find another Trekking Shoes.
I'm getting flashbacks here, Ethan. Turn 1, Melodious Echo for potentially 210 plus with an Escape Rope. That's scary.
Speaking of Escape Rope, did find that off the second Trekking Shoes, so that piece is there. Big Chromatic Flip. If this is heads, could find Battle VIP Pass, but no, flipping tails. That's 2 less Pokemon out of the deck.
I don't see any Genesect at the moment.
No Genesect. There is an Ultra Ball in hand. Does also have access. No, there is a Genesect.
There is a Genesect.
So Genesect, Fusion Energy, Escape Rope. I think the way this hand might actually work for Rowan is I think it's correct to Cram-O-Matic away the Ultra Ball because you can't, there's not one more card you want to discard. Big flip here. It is heads.
It's heads.
That's huge. I think the pieces are actually there. If he finds just the Sparkle, this is such a weird play, but if you find just the Sparkle, you can play the Escape Rope first, not forced to switch into the Genesect, bench the Genesect, attach the Fusion Energy, play the Power Tablet, unless a Sparkle, 240 damage, turn number 1. Are you kidding me?
What year is this? That's something I definitely was not playing around when I went into the Hartford Regional Championship. Was not expecting turn 1 Melodious Echo for 240 damage on a key knockout.
What a huge start here for Rowan, showing that he's so close he can smell victory. He sees Top Cut in his vision, and he will do everything in his power to make this possible. Can still draw 2 cards off this Fusion Strike system. We're not even done yet.
We're not done yet, that's right. 2 cards, might as well just get a Battle VIP. Just a cherry on top right here.
And there it is. No cards needed, but what else do you need? Melodious Echo, turn 1, 240 damage, Arceus V going down. And what is there even in the hand here? Is there a top deck?
Nest Ball.
It is a Nest Ball top
something.
deck, so that can grab Arceus out of the deck. Is there even an attachment to put on that Arceus?
Well, it's another Pokemon that keeps you in the game. I don't think there's an attachment. Right now, Rowan only has 2 Pokemon in the field. That means you're only drawing 2 cards, possibly no Gust here. Let's see what they have. Again, what an explosive.
That's how you draw
turn.
it up. Game 2, 1 game away from securing yourself essentially with an intentional draw, a spot in Top Cut, and you flip heads on one of those 2 Cram-O-Matics to find the piece you need. And there's no attachment either, just passing the turn over. Does Rowan have another Escape Rope or a way to Boss's Orders this Arceus V into the active spot?
Do we play the Path of the Peak here?
I think there's a Lost Vacuum in hand, so I think what Rowan is trying to decide, is there a way to just sort of draw as many cards as possible? Did draw into Genesect off of those prize cards, so that's 1 more card you can draw off the Fusion Strike system. I think the question here for Rowan, are there resources here to play aggressive? Putting this Alessa Sparkle back into the deck, not a card that, you can play the card, of course, that Fusion Energy still in the prize card, so that's unavailable, but it's 1 more card you can thin out of your hand for the time being to try and draw as many cards. Path to the Peak coming down, Lost Vacuum to thin out, last card being Genesect.
Absolutely
3 cards here off the Fusion Strike system. What do we see here? Is there a Boss's Orders? There's the Choice Belt, so that builds this damage up to 240 again this turn. Has 2 Pokemon to draw off of that. I think we're going to be seeing a Fusion Strike system for 5 cards here. Choice Belt onto Melodious.
Committing it to the active
All right, Boss's Orders or Escape Rope.
Do we find it?
5 cards here. If that's there, I don't know if there's a way for Rowan, or rather for Christian to come back into this game. Do we see it? There's the Force Seal Stone! That will guarantee it. Can go ahead. Oh, wait, okay. Oh, I think Christian just automatically throwing it up saying, listen, it's going to come into the active whether or not I like it. Force Seal Stone, V-Star power being used, can grab any card out of the deck. Boss's Orders, bring that Arceus up into the active spot, and Rowan is running away with this game.
Melodious Echo back-to-back 240 damage. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. I love to see this Fusion Strike.
And another Genesect 2. We're not even done yet.
Keep drawing cards. Why not?
Rowan has absolutely popped off this game, has put himself in the position to advance in the top 8. What can Christian do to stop him? Arceus V knockout turn 1, Arceus V knockout turn 2. There is no Pokemon on Christian's side. Melodious Echo, 240 damage, and Christian is left with just an Alakazam again.
He needs another Arceus. He has to hope that this